I'm calling about a past due balance on your account. Episode 5. I knew that sale was too good to be true. I work for a special collections agency and I don't think our customers are human. Sorry that it's been so long since I posted updates. Work has been super busy and we had someone retire, so we've been short-staffed. When they first told me that Jerry would be shedding his mortal form and moving on to his next state of being, I was really worried about him. But apparently that's normal for whatever sort of thing Jerry is. And that just means he's going back home to his own dimension. We had a nice party for him, although I am curious what the employee at the grocery store thought when they wrote out "Best wishes on your dissolution and dissipation across eternity" on the cake. As you may recall, I work in special collections and I don't think our customers are human. Last month, one of our customers had warned me about someone named Nathal, the Devourer, and when I asked Puljam if he knew who that was, he glanced at my boss's office and told me we could talk after work. That shift took forever to go by. Afterwards, we went to a cheap breakfast place and stared at each other from across the table silently for a while. He had focused on the store across the street with such an intensity, as if it was going to give him the answers on how to make this conversation go away. "So," I said, hoping to catch his attention. He looked at me, and for the first time since I had known him, he looked a bit frazzled. He looked tired, and since he has a habit of running his fingers through his hair when he's nervous, it was out of its ponytail and sticking up all over the place. Even despite the circumstances, I was trying not to focus on a weird feeling of being jealous of how much nicer it is than my own hair. Seriously, how is his hair so nice? He took off his glasses, I'm guessing so he didn't have to see the look on my face, and pinched the bridge of his nose, taking a deep breath in before explaining to me that yes, our boss is known as Nathal, the Devourer. And yes, everything I know and love will be consumed and used to fuel the endless, non-corporeal form of whatever sort of ancient horror my boss is. I'm paraphrasing a bit here. I made up for his lack of eye contact by leaning in and staring at him intensely in return until he put his glasses back on. "How long have you known?" I whispered. He stared across the street again while drumming his fingers on the table and still wouldn't meet my eyes when he quietly answered, "Years." Does everyone know? Sandy? Probably. It's no secret, honestly. It's why he works so hard in trying to placate all these entities that would otherwise destroy us, why he tries to keep humanity safe. So they don't eat us before he gets the chance to? He snorted and smiled despite himself, finally looking at me. Pretty much. Well, that's terrible. How long do we have? If I had to guess, the timeline falls somewhere between a few years from now and the heat death of our universe. There are only so many places with life, even fewer with billions of large life forms, but I don't think we're next on his list, if that makes you feel any better. I guess the look on my face conveyed that it did not, in fact, make me feel any better, because he continued a bit more gently. So yes, eventually he will consume our world and everything living on it, but in the meantime, he's keeping us from being destroyed by something else. You know the crazy customers we deal with? Those are the cooperative ones. They work with us and abide by formal agreements. There are so much more dangerous things out there that don't, and he's doing his best to keep those away. The deeper you look, the more terrifying things you find lurking just under the surface. It was the most I'd ever heard him say in one go. We stared at each other. What is he exactly? He tapped his chin thoughtfully and was quiet for a moment. Something so beyond our comprehension that I'm not entirely sure how to describe it. He has the form here that we perceive, but I think he probably exists in many places and times at once. Are you like him? What? He snorted. No, I'm Canadian. Somehow there was an oddly perfect answer confirming that no, he wasn't some sort of insatiable, interdimensional space monster, and made me smile too. I was still not entirely sure how I felt about what was going on. In fact, I'm still not. But the sense of choking panic and fear have faded a bit. Now, I just have a constant medium-grade anxiety. I decided to ask something that I had been wondering about for a while, ever since he had let it slip that he had been working at our workplace for longer than he outwardly would have appeared to be alive. I asked him if he was human. He paused for a while before he said, "Not entirely. Let's say I'm human adjacent." His next question was one that I should have seen coming, how I had heard that name in the first place. I reluctantly told him about the man in the mirror and how I'd had a chat with him. He looked disappointed and a bit sad. "If you talk to him again, don't let him see the inside of your house though. Seriously," he sighed after a long moment. "Why? Is he dangerous?" "He can be, and once he's seen the interior of a room, he can enter it freely through any reflective surface. Plus, he's kind of a creep." I told him how frantic the guy had been, and he did agree that if Mirror Guy was worried about his own world, that may not be a good sign for us. He said he'd keep an eye on our boss and gave me some warning signs to look for, such as an abrupt silence followed by colour seeming to leach out of everything in our boss's vicinity, or if the things around me appeared to be phasing in and out of existence. If these things happen, it's not like I can do anything about it, but knowing what to look for is oddly comforting. We eventually started talking about work. I mentioned how the collector tried to give me someone's pacemaker, and he told me that he'd missed Jerry, but wouldn't miss how Jerry managed to keep knocking his computer. No, not the monitor, he emphasized, the actual computer, on the floor. He walked me to my car, but not before taking one last long look at the storefront across the street. Planning a shopping trip? I laughed. He gave me a strange look. 85% off, going out of business sale. I gestured at the bright signs and cheerful inflatable figures. I was considering checking it out on my next day off. I love a good sale. He squinted towards it and then looked back at me. "Is that what you see?" When I nodded, he stared at me and asked not to go near that store and to make sure no one I knew does either. Figures, 85% off was too good to be true. I'm glad we talked. I'm still figuring out how to deal with that knowledge, but it was pretty cool hanging out with them outside of work. We made plans to do something again next week if we're both still alive. It did scare me a bit when, the next day at work, Jam popped out of our boss's office as I was walking in, though especially when his eyes met mine and he gave me a small, tight smile. My boss immediately waved me in, and I wondered if being used to fuel a cosmic being would be painful. The walk from my office to his felt like it took a lifetime. I thought about my family. I know my sister Hasmig would take care of our mum if something happened to me, but I fretted over who would water my plants if I died. I took a seat while my boss wrote something in a file. He then handed it to me, and I tried my best to make a "please don't consume me" face. I considered that interaction successful. I wasn't even partially devoured. When I flipped through the file, it was with great relief that I saw Pujam had been talking to him about. It became my first call of the day. I think I might have some trust issues though, since my first thought was that a friend was selling me out to a hungry space demon. The note scared me a bit, so I asked Sandy if she could check them and then stick around to help keep an eye on me. "Hello, this is Michaela calling on behalf of the Green Vista Group. When you applied for your license to manipulate reality, you claimed it would be used to blend in and seek asylum. It has come to our attention that you are attempting to illegally farm and poach the dominant life form in the area. using a manipulated location on 5th and Main. You are in violation of GVG policy and are being assessed a 5,000 unit fine. Your license has been revoked, effective immediately, and our staff are being dispatched to ensure the manipulated location is returned to its normal state. You may petition this decision beginning in October 2045. Any attempts before that time to manipulate reality will be met with permanent expulsion. Note: if customer becomes irate, you may see or hear disturbing things during the course of the call. It may help to have a trusted co-worker in your vicinity while conversing with the customer. No matter what you may think you are experiencing during the call, remember, you are not melting, you are not dead, and your organs are not filled with locusts. You will be fine. Afterwards, I was in a sort of stupor. It wasn't a very pleasant call. I got the point across, but I needed a long lunch break afterwards. I didn't feel like my organs were filled with locusts, thankfully, but I did vividly experience the sensation of my eyes melting while witnessing a very immersive event of what appeared to be the end of all things. I was glad to have Sandy standing close by. Everything has been pretty smooth in terms of our notes not being grossly incorrect or downright dangerous recently. I've still been going over all my other files with Sandy or Pujam before making my calls to be safe, especially since one of them told me to drink a mystery beverage. Hello, nymphs. This is Michaela with the Green Vista Group, and I am calling regarding your outstanding debt. Can I set you up on a payment plan today? We are willing to offer a payment plan of 100 units a month for 1,500 years with no interest. Note: hold provided cup in left hand. It will appear to be empty. If customer becomes difficult and you find your lungs filling with fluid at any point during the call, the glass will manifest a clear liquid. Consume it. Luckily, that customer was cooperative and I didn't have to drink it. He was super nice and even polite about me mispronouncing his name. It was good to feel like I was getting to help people again too. I told him he is welcome to call me at any time if he needs anything. Well, at least during the remainder of my lifespan. Sandy was wearing an orange sweatshirt under a vest with sequin spiders on it yesterday, which reminded me to ask about something I had been wondering about. I complimented her outfit and asked, "Do you guys do anything for Halloween? When I worked upstairs, we used to have a small party and dress up. It was pretty fun, so I was curious." "Oh, sure. Most of us put some candy out on our desks. Some of us dress up. Others just reveal our true forms," she said with a smile. Although after a few moments, she followed that statement with, "Hun, you're not afraid of spiders, right?" So I'm intrigued, maybe a little concerned too, about what Halloween is going to look like down here. It's my favourite holiday, so I've been trying to distract myself from my anxiety over everything and everyone potentially being devoured by putting a costume and some decorations together. Since we've been so short-staffed, we've been asked to work longer shifts, and even Pujam was tasked with making some calls in addition to his usual tech support. He's pretty familiar with our customers and how to work with certain entities, but the social aspect of it made him a bit nervous, since he said he has the charisma of a sandwich. His words, not mine. I've been working with him on the interactions, and it's been nice to actually help train someone for once, after all the help I've needed. I have my performance review coming up next week, and I'm kind of nervous. Our boss is always a bit intense and kind of intimidating, but what I've learned recently doesn't help. Like, I'm probably not in any immediate danger, but sitting in an office with him while reviewing my performance and setting work-related goals seems a bit hollow, all things considered. In the meantime, I'll just keep an eye out for signs that we're about to be devoured. I just want to thank JamFranz for allowing me to narrate that story. That is the 5th episode of this series, so if you haven't heard the others, make sure you head back and check those out. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and as always, stay tuned. for one more nightmare.